A programação vai continuar diretamente agora para uma das palestras keynote muito aguardadas, porque trata do mesmo tema, só que no contexto de governo. Como é que os governos precisam estar olhando e se preparando para essa nova realidade digital. E para falar disso, nós temos um especialista com mais de 40 anos de bagagem, que é o George Newstrom, President and General Manager of Dell Services Federal Government. George Newstrom runs the government business unit. He manages all business and operational aspects of service offerings to our federal customers. With decades of experience leading IT services, organizations within the federal marketplace, he served as a Chief Information Officer, Chief Strategist, and Secretary of Technology for the Commonwealth of Virginia. Previously, he served as a President and Chief Operating Officer for Elite Technologies and President and Chief Executive Officer for Whisper Technologies. Spanning 28 years in healthcare and government sectors, he held various leadership roles with EDS, culminating as a corporate senior vice president and president of EDS Asia Pacific. Newstrom served in the United States Marine Corps as a communication and electronics officer, holds a Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of California, Davis, and has passion for his community and industry shown through the involvement with a number of associations and groups, including Chairman of the World Information Technology and Services Alliance from 2000 to 2008. Please welcome George Newstrom.
Thank you, Robert.
You're welcome.
I notice all the smart people have left already. The people that are here now. I'm supposed to speak for 30 minutes. I would like to ask the audience for participation right now. I will do it in 20 minutes if you give me a loud round of applause right now. Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here. I've spent a couple days here, and just like summer, this is my first time here in Brazil. I've been hosted by Giovanni Salamayo and his good buddy Huberto Ribeiro, and we've had a great time, and I really appreciate SS Pro sponsoring this event. Also, WCIT, and for those of you that are not familiar, WCIT is to WCIT as the IOC is to the Olympics. So it's the governing body of that. And Santiago Gutierrez was the chairman until Sunday, and then he put this together in his team along with Dr. Jim Poissant and the terrific staff. I really appreciate this. This is my 7th World Congress on Information Technology. All of them are slightly different, but they all have a wonderful, wonderful form and hopefully outcome. I'm going to talk about government business. And you say, why would I want to listen to anybody about government business? I will give you 3 letters. R-O-I. All business people look at those 3 letters and say, should I work in, should I invest in, should I do this? I'd like to give you some good news and then some bad news about this business that I've been in for a long time. Let me go to this first slide. I could spend an hour or 2 on this slide. I don't want to do that. I want to talk about 3 things on this slide. The first one is this one right here. It is government. Think about how government operates. Analytics. We have a plethora, a lot of information already. Anyone in this room know what the SKA is? No? It's a project in Australia, square kilometer array, being built. It's a project that's being worked on, hopefully built by 2022. It's a 1 kilometer square of radio telescopes pointed to the air, pointed to space, to download information. It's 1 square mile so they can measure 3-dimensional things. Wonderful. When it's done, I am told, it is supposed to download 1 exabyte of information a day. I bet the interpreter doesn't know how to say exabyte. I mean, I'm a megabyte guy. Gigabyte, man, that was really cool, and we got to petabytes. 1 exabyte a day. Not only where's that going, what are we going to do with it once you have it? By the way, you as an individual have the same problem. I have friends that can go to their telephone and find a picture instantaneously. I have a few other friends that takes them 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clicks to find a picture. I have even more friends, they can't find anything on their phone. That's what we're talking about right now. How does government, how do we all work on analytics of all this information that you've heard about in the last few days? Second one is let me go to risk and security, risk-based security. The first panel this morning was phenomenal. It talked about large issues and small issues. And one of the things that I think Summer Fowler and Kirsten Nielsen touched on is the personal aspect of risk-based security. That's us, and how do we work? I have a question. You don't have to answer it. I have a question for you. How many PINs, usernames, passwords, and let me add another one. There's a new thing called questions, right? Dual-factor authentication is a question. How many of those do you have? You're going to be shocked if you ever count them. If you ever count them. It'll be 2, 3, 4, 5 dozen. The topic this morning is about what can we do? What do we need to do? Not just from a national perspective, a governmental perspective, but an individual perspective on risk-based security. That's an interesting topic. I enjoyed hearing the topic about how government intercedes in cybersecurity, and that's going to be talked about a lot in the next day or so. I have a question, risk-based security. Can the FBI of the United States look into my cell phone, go into my cell phone? I'm a privacy guy. I have rights. The answer is clearly no. What if I'm suspected of something by the FBI? What if? The answer is still no. I have privacy, I have rights, unless they have a court-ordered document that allows them to do that. But here's, and again, Kirsten and Summer touched on this, the balance. Can they go into the cell phone of someone they saw on a video camera murdering someone, a terrorist? Can they go into that cell phone? I'm not answering that question, by the way. We as a society, we as a nation around the world have to answer that question. We worry about privacy and security. Let me tell you, every one of you that flew here on a plane gave up security. Gave up privacy for security. You let people look inside your luggage. You let people, in some cases, I get touched every time I go to the airport. I have a hip replacement. So think about that. We have given up the right, some privacy, to be safe in the air. And I hope all of you agree that's okay. That's the balance that we have to go to. Here's my last one I want to touch on. This is how government has to interact with ourselves. This one right here, I find it very intriguing. Digital workplace. There are two words there, digital workplace. One of them is right, one of them is wrong. Digital is correct. Government in the United States is really struggling with what a workplace is. We are no longer in the industrial age. We do not go to the factory and punch in. Even us white-collar, blue-collar people don't go to the office anymore and work our 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours. Is this a workplace? I think this is a conference center. But yet, I'm looking around the audience and I see 1/3 of the people in this audience working. Working. Therefore, this is a work. Not paying attention to me, by the way, but you're working. By the way, our employees are doing the same thing. There's no such, in my opinion, there's no such thing as that definition any longer. A workplace can be anything. It can be the Starbucks. In a lot of places now, it's the home. And then the United States Department of Labor gets really hung up on, if you're working from home and you're washing the dishes, but yet on a cell phone call, are you working? They can't answer the question. By the way, they come up with the wrong answer. No. So I'm intrigued by how government and how we all deal with this around the world. It is not a government issue, it's a total global information technology issue. Let me turn to what I really want to talk about. The question about ROI is very, very important in all of our lives. The numbers behind me, those are not my charts. That is not my chart. It's a Gartner chart. It says that the global IT market is somewhere around $500 billion US. Okay, I am wrong by 50%. It's only $250 billion. Is that a marketplace you're interested in? Probably. And by the way, I'm going to show you some reasons why you shouldn't be as well. This is the global marketplace. There's two interesting things about that chart. One is just the numbers. The second thing is the numbers on the right here. And that's the growth of each one of those segments. I don't know, I hope you can read that. I don't know if you can. But the base IT, the IT growth is slowing. What is growing the fastest on that chart is software. Software. I am intrigued. I've been in information technology for 500 years. We have sold the world this thing called the cloud. The cloud. It's a box. It's a box. What's beautiful about the cloud is that box now, it used to be a virtual data center. Now it can be anywhere. It can be provisioned through software. I can move that box anywhere I want. I can use any application. It doesn't matter where the box is. That's the cloud. All software defined everything is where we're going. That's where the increase is going to happen. I have another slide, so I'm going to stay within my 20 minutes. That basically says what the previous one does. Let's talk about the United States government. $500 billion in the world spent in IT by government. The United States is about $200 billion of that dollars. Of that, about 87 of it is in IT services. Okay, I'm going to show that to you in a slide in a second. It's a very open buying protocol. Anyone can bid in government business. I talked to Umberto and Giovanni yesterday here, and the same thing is true here in Brazil. I think that's true for most parts of the world. Very open, very clear purchasing system. You must comply with it. If it says you will only respond with a response of 50 pages, if you submit a response of 51 pages, they throw it out. It's not compliant, but very, very responsive. There is a rule of law. One thing that we haven't touched on is procurement in government. Very, very difficult. Government in general has a hard time buying things. They take a year to figure out what they need. They take another year to put that RFP together. And then it's for a life cycle of 5 years after that. Well, wait a minute. How fast does technology change? Pretty quickly. It's hard to do that cycle. The rule of law. I want to show you a picture. This happens to be my shortened version of the United States Federal Acquisition Regulation. This is the short version. It's 1,800 pages. To bid in government in the United States, you must know every word in that document. I tried reading it. I get to page 3 and then I fall asleep. But we have very good contracts people that do know that, because when you sign that I'm bidding on government work, you sign that I know every word, and not only do I know every word, I comply with every word in that document. I want to back up to this slide. Look at that second to the last item, small margins. Why would you want to go into business and get small margins? By the way, small margins, my definition is 1 digit. 1 digit. Now, I can speak to both sides of that. As a business person, man, Stinks. That really stinks. As a citizen, I don't want commercial companies, to make a lot of money on me. So I'm okay with that. The government also has 3 types of contracts: cost plus, time and material, and firm fixed price. Cost plus is almost risk-free, almost. They will pay for the cost and give you a small margin on top, but it's risk-free. Time and material is close to that. You bid a rate, a labor rate. You got to get it right. Make sure you get it right. You can make money there. The one you can make the most money on is firm fixed price. They want you to do a project, and they want you to bid on that project. Everything is wonderful if the buyer knows what they want. If the buyer knows what they want. If they don't know, they're going to ask for this document and ask you to give you a price for this document. And then 5 minutes later, they're going to say, oh, we want this. 10 minutes later, they're going to say they want this. That's hard if you've given them a firm fixed price to do that. So it's the riskiest of all, but it's still doable. And cost accounting standards, every penny in my organization, every penny is audited with a specific protocol that goes along with that. Let me show you then the numbers for the U.S. government, in case you're interested in looking at this market. I already said this, about a $200 million market. A lot of information technology. That includes, by the way, the green is the infrastructure part, the air conditioning, the real estate of data centers. Software, same thing. Software is growing the most. It's tremendous business. I look at about 80 million of that. That's pure IT-type services. There's a little bit more that is not defined by the United States government, and I'm sure you can guess what that is. It's the intelligence work that we do. There's a little bit more money that's there. But the growth trends are still the same as the chart that I showed you internationally. Software and software-defined IT is where the world is going. It's probably the same in the commercial world. It is absolutely true in the government world. I'm going to stay on my 20 minutes. Here, I could talk about all of those for 20 minutes each. Competition is fierce. Major logos in the government, at least in the United States government business, are Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics, Accenture, Dell, HP, you name them, they're there. But there's a tremendous amount of small business. In fact, and I show it to you, in fact, the government wants small business to be involved in all the contracts, including the big ones. So they ask you to include small business in your bids. And in the United States, I think there's 8 categories: women-owned, veterans, service-disabled veterans, historical underutilized businesses and business area zones. Alaskan Native is one of the ones that gets the most, and there's 2 or 3 others. Those all get portions of the contract. So small companies have an advantage in government business. Financial considerations are the ones that I touched on a couple times. You have to look at the upside, which is large. It's all big numbers. And then the other side, which is, do you want to be audited? Fully audited. Do you want to do business with someone that can look inside your books? And by the way, I'm okay with that. We do everything above board. Cost accounting standards are very important, and that's what they are called. And in the book that I showed you, there's a chapter on cost accounting standards. It's beyond GAAP, if you know that term, generally accepted accounting principles. It's beyond that. It's federal cost accounting standards. The one that the last panel touched on was, I'm sorry to have to report, you will do your business in the United States. That's not a choice. You will do U.S. federal government business in the United States. By the way, I've done business in Australia, I've done business in the UK, I've done business in Germany, and guess what? You will do the business in Germany, the UK, and Australia. And you think about it, most of it is sensitive information. You don't want Social Security numbers traveling all over the world. So there's a reason for all that. There are budget constraints. Our system, and I'm not going to answer any political questions, but our system is very interesting. We have had the same budget for 4 years because our Congress can't come up with a new one. So we do something called a continuing resolution as a budget, which says everything we did last year, do again. On September 31st, the United States Congress passed the following continuing resolution. Do everything you did last year for 2 months and 9 days. Can anybody guess? It's not a year. Can anybody guess why it's 2 months and 9 days? Here's the answer. Elections. Let somebody else figure it out. So in December, we won't have a budget. The last time this happened, I had to send my employees home for 16 work days because I wasn't getting paid. 16 work days. They couldn't figure out how to do a budget. Those are the type of things that you have to deal with. One more thing, I think it's probably true in Brazil and other governments, the remedy for not complying with all the rules that I've mentioned, and by the way, I could spend hours on that, but the remedy for that, in addition to financial, liquidated, if there's a lawyer in the room, you'll know the following word. The worst thing that the United States government can do to a contractor is debar you as a contractor. Debar says you cannot bid on government contracts for a period of time, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. That's death. Because not only does it apply to the government portion, the commercial folks use it too, and the competitors use it against you in the marketplace. But a lot of companies have found that the United States government business is really good business. Please look at their financials. Maybe some of you own stock in them. They're not doing bad. That's beyond the ones that I mentioned, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, General Dynamics. These are foreign companies that do a lot of business with the United States government and do it very, very well. I'm going to close by 20 minutes. I'm going to close by giving you a potential. It may not be the absolute perfect, a potential roadmap to doing business in the United States government. The very first one is just team with somebody. I had a couple of conversations already with companies in the room about how you could do that. We'll talk to the companies that are here in Brazil. Talk to the Dells, talk to the HPs, talk to all the U.S. companies. See if they're doing government. Team with somebody. Easy to do. The second one is joint venture. Got to be careful. Got to be careful. You can't own over 50% of a joint venture because then it becomes a different type of company. 49% is okay. 50 and above is not okay. Partnerships, whether they're strategic marketing partnerships, wonderful, strategic alliances, any of those partnerships are good to go. And the last one is, and a couple of the companies I mentioned on the last one, bought U.S. companies that are in federal government business, both small and large. It can be done. You do have to go through a process. The United States government has to approve every purchase of a U.S. entity, but it's doable. In fact, I am heading out to Berlin in a few hours because I'm being bought by a foreign company. Not Dell, by the way. Michael bought EMC, selling me. So it can be done. I'm a perfect example of that. By the way, my previous company was bought by a foreign company. It can be done. So somewhere on that path, if you have any interest, start at teaming. Look at partnerships. But there is a path to doing business in the United States government. I want to close. Did I make my 20 minutes? Or am I? Oh. Oh, my gosh. He had a big hook earlier. But I hope I've at least given you some insight into what this business is. The good news is it's large. The bad news is there's a lot of bad news. in doing this business. If I'm allowed, I'll answer a few questions. I can't see the audience, so I can't answer anything. Okay, thank you very much. Am I done? Thank you very much. I appreciate being here. Obrigado.